Good evening, everyone. Again, this is the select board meeting of August 23rd, 2022, and we start with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Scott.
Do we need to record, Eric, too?
Recording in progress.
Thank you, Anita.
I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag
of
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So good evening, everybody, and want to start with open forum. I first want to just start on a very sad note. I know that most people are aware that last week our former health director Jeff Stevens passed away from a battle with an illness he had been struggling with over the last months. For all of us who knew Jeff, he was just a great guy. He was, as has been described, bigger than life. He brought energy, he brought creativity, he brought a fabulous sense of humor to town hall. He was dedicated, he was committed. There was nothing that you could ask Jeff to do that he wouldn't say, yep, I'm on it, I'll get on it. Happy to help. On behalf of the board and our town, and I know that there was a large turnout from our town yesterday and today, both at his wake and his funeral, indicative of just what he meant to all of us here. But on behalf of the town and the board, we'd like to extend our deepest sympathies and condolences to Jeff's family, his wife, his children, his parents, and his siblings. He will be missed by everyone. So with that, moving on, once again, like to recognize our fire department, our police department, and our public safety department. They have had a very busy summer this year, and this time they responded to a fire on August 13th at 54 Lakeshore Drive North. The location and the proximity of the homes to one another and the roadway made battling this fire challenging. But our fire department, with the assistance of the police and dispatchers, once again managed it terrifically. What could have been even a bigger tragedy and disaster than the loss of one home, given the proximity of the two homes next to it. They were not badly damaged. They are habitable, and it is to the credit of our fire department that there was not more damage than was sustained that night. So we once again acknowledge them and honor them and thank them for their service. And just because, you know, they haven't got anything else to do this summer, over the last week, they have been in Saugus helping to combat a brush fire, a large brush fire out there in Saugus, which is burning both above and below ground. And our brush truck and our guys have been out there helping that fire. So again, honestly, they're just an incredible group of people, and we are very fortunate to have them here in Westford. So thank you, guys.
Here.
And then the last announcement I have is to just announce that once again, Westford will be holding its 9/11 memorial service on Sunday, September 11th at 9:55 a.m. At the public safety courtyard in front of, at 53 Main Street in front of the police station. And this is a ceremony that we have held every year since 9/11. And with that, I don't have anything more for open forum. Anybody from the board have anything for open forum? Tom?
I'm wondering if we should mention the upcoming town retreat, and there's still an opportunity to sign up and participate. And Jody, maybe you can help me if people are in the audience here and would like to find the link to sign up for the retreat. What's the best way for them to do that?
Yes, it's Westford MA, I think backslash SPR, and then you can find the link. If anybody has any trouble, please email us in the town manager's office and we'll help you.
Thanks.
And then Patty Doobie, who is out there, we have an upcoming primary election, and Patty's just going to remind us of several important dates coming up.
Thank you, Andrea. We do have a primary on September 6th. The in-person early voting will take place starting this Saturday, August 27th. We open at the town hall from 9 to 5 this Saturday. That's also the last day to register to vote if you are currently not a voter in Westford. So we will be there. And then next week, Monday through Friday, there is also in-person voting during regular business hours of 8 to 4. At the moment, we're having them at the town hall. If it becomes extremely busy, we will move it over to the fire station. We're going to see how that goes. And you need to get your ballots back if you have asked for them by mail by election day, which is again September 6th. Any questions, give me a call at the town clerk's office and we'd be happy to help you with any other things as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Patty. All right, and now I see Meredith Kelly has her hand up for something for open forum. So Eric, if you could unmute Meredith.
Oh, hi, this is Meredith. Hopefully you can hear me. I wasn't sure. I had comment for the joint session, so I wasn't sure if I needed to do that now or I'll wait till the appropriate time.
Yep, wait till we get there, okay?
Great, thank you.
All right. All right. With that, we are at our 7:05, which is the consent agenda. And we have a request to approve the following: a special license for the Wild Women of Westford, an evening of storytelling and wine pairing. The applicant is Linda Green on behalf of the Westford Historical Society. The date is Friday, August 26th from 7:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. The location is the Westford Museum at 2 Boston Road. And the second event we have is a cancer awareness fundraiser. The applicant is Michael Riley on behalf of Summer Village. The date is Friday, September 2nd, 2022. The time is 6:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. The location is at 11 Summer Village Road. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda along with recommendations from public safety?
So moved.
And a second? Okay, all those in favor, John?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're at our 7:10 p.m. item, which is a joint meeting with the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee to consider approval of their recommended language for the ballot question to declare the second Monday in October as Indigenous Peoples' Day, superseding local references to Columbus Day. Anita, I think as our representative, you're going to start off the discussion, is my understanding.
Yep. Should I wait for the folks to be
Yes.
promoted to panelists? Okay.
Yep.
Eric, would it be helpful if people raise their hand? Yeah. And you can find them.
Perfect. Thank you.
Heine, do you want to raise your hand so you can join our group? I think that's everyone. Okay. Would you mind, Eric, pulling up the slide deck? It's overview community input. I'm also happy to share my screen if that's easier.
Sure. Why don't you go right ahead?
Okay. Can you see this okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I just wanted to go over again what the timeline was and a little bit about the process for the recommendation and why we're here again. And that's basically to present recommendation to the select board so that we can follow and be in compliance of when the finalized language needs to be submitted by October 3rd. So presenting it to you today to the select board really gives us the month of September to massage it, to deliberate, to finalize it with legal before it's done in October. But an overview of the activities includes a survey, an online survey, a community listening session in August, and then the information has been synthesized and we're presenting it to you today. So there are actually many materials that were included in the packet that you might have taken a look at, hopefully. And so this is just a very brief overview and summary because I know you've all looked at the packet materials and we really wanted to focus on the discussion piece. So just to summarize or just to share some of the highlights, the online survey summary had 782 responses. We aren't able to really check on whether or not any of those were like duplicate, but we are still going to be sharing the results of when asked, do you support changing Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day on the second Monday of October? Yes was 33.4% and no was 64%. We did include the detailed comments list. It's in a spreadsheet. It's on the second. It's part of the online survey document itself. And I just wanted to kind of share that there was a lot of very nasty language that was shared or directed to the DEI committee, which I think was inappropriate and unfortunate and kind of sad for the town of Westford to be reading that. The DEI committee is full of volunteers, just like the select board, and we're charged with doing or carrying out a charge from the town meeting. So something that did come up during the listening session, which is here on the next slide, was that there was some confusion about why the DEI committee was embarking on this process. And I think they thought that the DEI committee was volunteering this or what kind of driving this on their own, but really it was town meeting that did vote down Indigenous Peoples Day, but then also charged in that same town meeting the DEI committee to make a recommendation. So I just wanted to make sure that that frustration towards the DEI committee, just let people know that that's misplaced and misdirected. And if you're upset that we're doing this, you should go to town meeting and vote and be part of those conversations. So I just needed to make that little plug for town meeting. So the listening session was about an hour. It was a webinar Zoom format, just thinking that was more accessible for people in the summertime with everyone traveling. We had about 20 people participate, and the consensus of the attendees was that we should have 2 different days, one for Columbus Day and one for Indigenous Peoples Day. There were no submitted comments, and that was purely because of the way it was set up. We had one person who set up the webinar for no comments and no chats, but then the other person who actually was able to run the webinar wasn't able to have that access to change that. So I am going to pass this over to Joe Diamond, who was really driving a lot of this proposed ballot language along with a few of our other members. But I did want people to know that the DEI committee did come before the select board back in February and made a recommendation to change Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day, but the vote was 13-1. So there was one person who did not support changing that day and name. So I'm going to pause and turn it over to Joe.
Thanks, Anita. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. It's my pleasure to be here. The whole committee worked on this matter for months now. The group that put this language together consists of Scott and Seaman and Anjali and myself by reviewing the language from several cities and towns. And so we've combined, and also language from the state legislation as well. We also reviewed the language that President Biden signed. And so it really is 2 parts. The first is drawn from the town of Arlington. The city of Arlington. Shall the Westford Select Board declare the second Monday in October as Indigenous Peoples Day, superseding local references to Columbus Day? And the second part is drawn from actually the legislation that's at the State House now, proposed legislation, and recommend that it be observed by the people of Westford with appropriate exercises in schools otherwise, to acknowledge the history of genocide and discrimination against Indigenous peoples, and to recognize and celebrate the thriving cultures and continued resistance and resilience of Indigenous peoples and their tribal nations. So that's the language. And just to echo what Anita said, this is a process that actually included 2 votes. And very recently, the last time we met, just to reaffirm our commitment. And I think that vote as well, most recently, was 13-1. But to reaffirm our commitment to this in light of what's going on in the country, the reckoning that we're experiencing in the country and in the state, and to join with other cities and towns, 20, including Arlington, Bedford, Belmont, Brookline, Cambridge, East Hampton, Falmouth, Great Barrington, Holyoke, Marblehead, Mashpee, Maynard, Melrose, Newton, Northampton, Provincetown, Salem, Somerville, and Wellesley, to create and rename that day as Indigenous Peoples Day. There's also some language that we've shared, that Anita shared, that can be used in the ballot document for further explanation, which could be something that you all choose to do. So this is what we hope that you will work with. This is the language that we propose to the board, to the select board.
Okay, thank you, Joe. And Anita, is there anything else that you want to add before I open it up for some discussion, first with the select board, and then if there are any public comments?
No, nothing else to add. Thank you.
Okay. So let me open it up to the select board first, and also let me premise this discussion with reminding people what we're discussing. The select board voted several months ago to put on the ballot a question with respect to the celebration of Indigenous Peoples Day and/or Columbus Day. So what we are discussing tonight is the language that is going to be put on the ballot in November for the citizens and the residents of Westford to vote on. We're not talking about whether you support or you do not support renaming Columbus Day as Indigenous Peoples Day, whether having 1 day, 2 days, or whatever. All we're talking about tonight is the language of the ballot question, which the select board has already voted on, is going to be on the ballot in November 6th. The reason being that it was the select board's feeling that this should be an issue that should be decided by the residents of Westford and not by 5 people sitting on the select board, that this is something and a topic that affects everybody, that emotions run high on, as we've seen, that people have opinions about, and therefore they should be able to voice those opinions through the ballot box and through voting. So this is also a plug to encourage anybody who has an opinion about this to vote on November 6th. So with that introduction, let me first turn to select board members or anybody else from DEI who wishes to comment or say anything before I open it up to the public. So Scott, you have your hand up, so go ahead.
I'll confess to being confused. So is it, the select board originally said, should there be, Columbus Day or not, or in addition to just People's Day? And then your preface was that we're not discussing 1 day or 2, we're discussing the ballot question. So if there was a intent to have the question read, have Indigenous Peoples Day in addition to Columbus Day, is that allowed, or is that out of the scope of the meeting?
Anita? No.
The way, sorry, I don't want to speak for you, Andrea, but the way I was thinking was that I know that we received some email communications that were kind of getting to the idea that we shouldn't, that this is something that we should just kind of shoot down. But I think that there was, this has been a long process, and I don't think everyone remembers or was aware that this was something that the select board had voted on to make a ballot question. So I didn't see it as changing the language. I just saw it as whether or not, just to provide clarity of what we're voting on tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, Scott, what I meant was, I didn't want to get into a debate about what people are, how people are feeling, that this really is, this is a discussion about what we're going to put on the ballot, okay?
Well, in that case, I guess my proposal, which, I did send in advance, it's in the packet, is that we, recognize the debate at town meeting, the feedback in the community forum, which is that, some significant portion of our residents, understand completely the mistreatment of our Native Americans by, and in fact, just people worldwide. But they also recognize that, there was some rather talented and brave individuals who were involved in Age of Exploration, which we kind of personified under Columbus. So there's some recognition of the fact that there seem to be people who are open to having both days. In fact, would perhaps find it more inclusive to have both days. I was making a suggestion we have the ballot question read that we pick, you can have both on the same day for that matter. Or maybe that the select board works with the DEI committee to find a suitable day to have as Indigenous Peoples Day separate from Columbus Day, but that's, it's a matter of wordsmithing.
Okay. Tom?
So first, gratitude to the people working on the DI committee and doing the hard work of putting this together and hosting listening sessions and dealing with some feedback, which can be tough at various times. I guess my sense was this is the question that came out of town meeting was, let's ask the DI committee to make a recommendation. They've thought about it carefully and they've done that. And I would be interested to have the town answer this question as presented. I think nothing would prevent us in a subsequent step from establishing, a separate Indigenous Peoples Day if that was something that, that I think many people would probably support if that's where the circumstances led us. But I think if we change the recommendation to a new tone or a new intent in the ballot question itself, I think we've strayed from the question that really is the center of debate here, which is what should the town of Westford do? And I would like to have the people of Westford have a chance to, through the ballot box, express their opinion on that. So I'm in favor of moving forward with the language as it is for this ballot question. And then Scott certainly would support if the circumstances lead us there, considering some alternative if the voice of the people leads us, one way or another.
Thanks, Tom. Eric?
Thank you, Andrea. I'm echoing a lot of what Tom just said, but the bottom line and the heart of what the DEI committee has really wrangled with and come together with is this: it should be, to the broadest extent possible, put to the vote of the entire town simply whether the second Monday is going to be Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day. That's really the bottom line. And I think the only thing at issue at this point is just capturing that fundamental bottom line in the language of the ballot question the proper way. Everything about all the arguments pro or con are absorbed into a vote by the entire town. That is the DEI's objective. I believe that is exactly what the select board's objective was with saying, let's have this as a ballot question. So I think it's important that no one get the impression that the DEI committee in any way, shape, or form is trying to silence any opinions on it. Rather, everyone's opinions are going to be amplified and put into history by a vote by everyone. Just like Andrea, you said, it's not 5 people. It's not just the DEI committee. The point is to get the issue before the entire town in a way where the entire town can vote up or down. That's our objective. That's what we as a committee believe is the healthy and proper thing to do on this issue. So the language should get that done.
Okay, thank you. Anita?
Yeah, and I just wanted to also add that I think if we were to, just looking at the edits and stuff that you had submitted, Scott, I really appreciate your time. And I know you were very thoughtful in how you were crafting that language. But I feel like it would be kind of cyclical, right? So it's bringing it back to the select board and then also in consultation with the DEI. If DEI says, oh, we should use, the second Monday in October, it's just kind of back to where we are now. And that's why I would also still support the recommended language from the DEI committee.
Okay. I too, oh, John, go ahead. I don't want to cut you off.
With the survey indications and what else, what was the rationale for just saying that we would supersede local references to Columbus Day, since the majority of the people that we talked to, the ones that we've had emails from, suggested otherwise? Yes, we celebrate the Indigenous Peoples Day, but not strike down Columbus Day. What was the thinking of that?
Anita, I'll certainly let you answer, because you and the DEI committee are probably the ones who know that. So either you or Joe or anybody else.
I'll start, but then I'm going to kick it over to any of my DEI peers. And I think part of that is just, when we're looking at the other online surveys and stuff that we've done in the past for other things for town meeting, I don't think it's always indicative of how the vote goes. And in the way that we've heard from very, very vocal group at the listening session and also through emails, I'm also part of other people in the community, other groups in the community that feel very strongly to supersede it. So I think just in the kind of the beauty of the select board, we're all tuned into different parts of the community. So I overwhelmingly hear the opposite. But I don't get the emails about it, I guess.
And Joe, do you want to add to that?
Just a little bit, yeah. It's I do appreciate the question, John, but I would say that it's hard to have a firm fix on exactly the sentiment of the community on this, and I think the vote itself will be extremely important. It's really telling. It's been a long process, and in the end, the committee took 2 votes, all things considered, and in the context of what we're going through right now, the committee feels like this is the right thing to do.
Okay. Scott Harkness. You're muted, Scott.
I just want to make a point that the second vote was unanimous for the language.
Oh, it was.
Yes, and part of the reasoning is I believe even the person that voted against it the first time feels as this should be an up and down vote for the town to show where the town stands on this issue.
Thank you. All right. Kathy Lynch has her hand up, so could we unmute Kathy?
Good evening. Looking at the language of this, I would recommend that it's a long question, that you stop it at people of Westford. If you must go further, stop it at, with appropriate exercises in the schools and otherwise. After that, it goes into the pros of one side of the issue. There's no indication of the pros of the other side of the issue, nor are there the cons of either side of the issue. So I think to be non-biased, it should preferably stop at the people of Westford in the language, or the worst otherwise.
Okay. Thank you, Kathy. Meredith Kelly has her hand up, and I know she had her hand up during open forum, and I told her to wait until we got to our discussion. So if you could unmute Meredith, please.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to add a few things. One of them is, if you look, and this is about the wording, if you look at State Bill HR 3191, it does establish an Indigenous Peoples Day. However, it does not supersede Columbus Day, which allows for the option of honoring both Italian American heritage and Native American heritage. So even at the state level, they are trying to accommodate both histories, which I think is a wise thing to do, because if you look at when Columbus Day was first started.
We're only talking about the ballot question. We're not going to talk about
Okay,
whether
well,
it's.
I'm just saying the original justification was to combat Italian American discrimination, which is, I think, a good thing, and also good to tackle when it comes to Native Americans as well. Another comment about the wording is, we were asked, and I want to thank the DEI for hosting the listening session. We were asked to provide feedback about wording and days and things that would be included. And I thought that we kind of did that within the listening session to honor both Italian and Native American heritage. I don't feel like that really came out in the final wording. I tried to do some in-depth research into, if we were going to look at just Westford Native American history, and I felt challenged by the testimony of somebody at that session to kind of look, dig deeper. And there are meaningful days within the town's history, such as February 13th and July 5th, that would, I think, truly honor our Native American past and challenge us to look further into that history and honor them individually as local peoples.
Thank you. Anita, can you just bring up the question again? So we can see, just so in case anybody else just wants to see the wording again. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions or comments. Oops, Kathy Creed, Scott Harkness, I'll get back to you. Kathy Creed and Pat Chessa have their hands up. So let's unmute Kathy first.
Hi, yeah, I've been following it for this issue for a while, and I was just wondering with the the survey and the listening session, how the DEI use that information to formulate the question.
Does somebody want from the, I think that was answered in response to John Cunningham's question, but if Anita or somebody else wants to respond.
I need to pass it over to someone else.
Okay. Scott Harkness, are you going to respond, or I know you had your hand up before, but okay, go ahead.
Well, there are two things. One is that we use the listening session not to formulate the language, but to see what the general opinion of the people that wanted to speak about this were. I think all along we felt as though once we knew that this was going to go to ballot, that there was going to be an up and down question. I just was looking at the state legislature's bill, proposed bill, and it supersedes Columbus Day and makes the second Monday Indigenous Peoples Day. So there's nothing in the bill saying that some other day would be, that it would supersede Christmas Day or something.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Eric?
Yes, the formulation of the language is really separate from any arguments in justification. The formulation of the language is our objective is really to get as close to the point as possible of just saying yes or no, and capturing a little bit of why the issue has been placed on many towns and states and countrywide ballots in the first place. So it's the question itself is not intended to essentially be a position statement, but rather give the basic rationale of why this has become an issue. And formulation is simply intended to get it as close to yes or no. Is it going to be a replacement of the name of the day as possible. And that really is it.
And Martha?
I just wanted to add to what Eric and Scott said, that when the DEI put this ballot question in place, they did reference other towns that have passed this in their town or replaced Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples Day. We looked at their ballot questions as well as references. So we took all of that feedback when we put the question together.
Thank you. Pat Chessa, you have your hand up?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Very good. I think it was Andrea who suggested if we have feelings about this particular ballot, we should get out and vote. I did go out and vote. I voted at town meeting, but apparently the results of that vote was not what some people wanted. So they changed it, and I gave my opinion on the survey. And that survey really reflects, I think, the majority of the population of Westford. And here again, we're back, and I have a problem with the wording. When I read what I don't know if this is considered the final version, I hope not. But when I read this version of the ballot question, it reminded me of the summer of 2020 and 2021. The summer of love, I think somebody referred to it as, with the destruction of monuments and statues, desecration, actually knocking over monuments of people in our history. It also resulted in government buildings being set afire and what have you. And that's what I see the wording of this bill is just another destruction of one of our monuments. Columbus is a part of our history.
Okay, Pat, as long as you were talking about the wording.
And the wording of this question is basically taking Columbus and dumping in the trash can of history, so to speak. And I am totally against the current wording. It should not be superseding anything. It should give I personally think people are going to be confused with the wording. You can see what happened with our listening session. I don't think anybody listened. I heard people's reasons why the wording was chosen, what it was. Didn't have anything to do with the listening session. Certainly.
Okay, and that point, several of other people have made that point too. So
I think this cannot be again, and the fact that you were able to overturn the town meeting vote. If this goes through, is there a way that this can be overturned?
Okay, Pat, first of all, respectfully, we did not overturn a town meeting vote. Well, I understand. Please excuse me. Let me finish. Pat, you need to let me finish.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. While I agree with you that the initial vote on the citizens petition failed by 3 votes, there was a subsequent vote by the town meeting that was a resolution that referred the question to the DEI committee. And that is why, as Anita pointed out at the very beginning, the DEI took this issue up and has diligently pursued it and looked at it and come up with the recommendation that it has come up with today. But it was a town meeting vote on a resolution that referred it to the DEI committee.
Okay, fine. And to get back to the wording, I gather you've got a month to work on this wording. Is that what I understood needed to say? You've got a month to
That's correct.
Clean it up. I would urge serious thought about taking out that superseding and put it a little bit more clarity into it. I don't think people are you can see the results of the different speaking points, or, you know, town get-togethers, to get a feeling for the people's opinions on this. And I don't think it really reflects what the majority of Westford people hold. I really don't.
Okay, thank you.
Superseding has got to be removed.
Okay,
And
thank
it's
you.
gotta be
I guess, Kathy, I'm not sure if you still have your hand up because you have another question, or, and this is Kathy Reed. I'm Kathy Creed. I know we have a couple of Kathys on participating. But before I get to you, because you have spoken, Lisa Rate, or I hope I'm pronouncing that right, also has her hand up. So if you could unmute her.
Hi there, and you did a fabulous job on my name. Thank you.
Right.
On my last name, that is. I think, unfortunately, I see just two observations. I feel like the wording in the second half of the question seems super partisan. And I also think if we could simplify the question, I think, and just get at the heart of it, and shorten it, I think that would be better, and we might get more accurate feedback in terms of what they're asking, what you're asking on the ballot question. Just my two observations. Okay. Oh, and a quick question would be, if this doesn't go through, would it be on the ballot next year? Like, at what point do we say, okay, you know, we've asked the question, it's yes or it's no. At what point do we stop asking this question?
I don't have an answer for you about that tonight. Let's take it one step at a time, okay?
Sure.
All right. I'm gonna hear from Kathy Creed, and then Anita, and then I'm gonna turn it back to the select board to decide what we're doing tonight. So Kathy Creed. Is she there, Eric? There you are, Kathy.
Oh, sorry about that. I pressed the button, but it didn't work. I'm not going to say very much. So I just want to just clarify, you know, I appreciate that the DEI did the listening session and the survey, but what I'm hearing is that the wording for this question is pretty much based on the nationwide discussion, and it's not really specific to our town. Is that right?
Not sure. We'll see if we can get an answer for you, okay?
Thank you.
All right. You know, I know I said Kathy Creed was going to be the last one, but Dennis, you keep putting your hand up and then putting it down. So I'm not sure whether you want to speak or not.
I would like to speak if I could.
Yes, you can. Okay. It kept going up and down, Dennis. So I didn't know what you wanted.
I want to make sure the little doodad down here was actually working. That's all.
It was working.
Bear with me. I did not mean to confuse you, Andrea. I'm sorry.
Okay, Dennis.
So listen, I just have 3 quick points to make about this, and I'll be off. The first thing was there's been a reference about how this materialized as a result of the town meeting vote. I want to just make it clear that I offered the amendment that to the committee or to the town meeting, and it was later referred to the subcommittee because of an extended discussion. And the object was to do exactly what people are saying: separate Christopher Columbus from the issue of indigenous persons. Because I think it was, it's basically to do otherwise is to make this a very divisive thing. Now, the unfortunate thing was in the entire time, and I think it's been 2.5 years since we've met, no one's ever contacted me from the DEI to have me come in and talk and either give my particular amendment an up or down vote. So what I see happening here, this is my concern, is that you used the amendment that I made, which was in good faith to try to get the issue about the issues with the indigenous people and the genocide and all that. And it's been used to basically bring back a question that was already voted down. It's the same issue that was voted down. I had offered something new. That's not what is here. And I think there was a very good question, and I'll close, that if we're going to do this about basically bypassing the town meeting, which was the definitive ruling, then what's the process for us all to be able to do that if we have a town meeting vote we don't like? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dennis. Scott, Harkness, and then Anita, and then I really am turning it back to the select board and to figure out for her discussion where we're going from here. So Scott?
I think one of the reasons we didn't we decided to make sure that this is an up and down vote on this day and not separated is the way the state is going is to change Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day. If the town of Westford doesn't want to change it, so be it. If they decide to have a different day and keep Columbus Day when the state changes it, which is probably going to happen, then we are going to stick out like a sore thumb as a town that will not celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day on Columbus Day. And I fear for that. And I think it's better just to vote up or down whether to change it or not.
Thanks, Scott. And Anita?
I don't have anything to say anymore. I feel like we've
Okay. All right. Just wanted to give, okay. So now I am going to turn it back to the select board and to determine what our pleasure is tonight, whether we want to vote to recommend the language as proposed here tonight, or you know, we've heard some concerns about the language, whether it's too complex, whether the ballot question is too long or whatever, you know, do we want to modify the language at all? So basically, I will entertain a motion from the select board. So Scott, you have your hand.
I can't make a motion. I was going to say that, you know, I just, after hearing the discussion, you know, an up or down vote is a false choice.
Is what? I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I didn't hear.
It's a false choice. You don't. It doesn't have to be up or down. We have the wording is forced an up or down decision. It doesn't need to be. That was not the intent of town meeting necessarily. And I would agree that it's no longer up or down. It's an up or down question with an editorial comment at the end of it. So I can't. We asked the DEI committee to come up with the wording. I would not vote against their work, but I can't support this as it stands now, the wording as it stands.
Okay, thank you. You know, I guess where I stand on this is that, you know, we did ask the DEI, as you just said, Scott, to come up with wording. They have done that. They have spent an inordinate amount of time doing this and trying to come up with wording. I echo what Tom Clay said earlier as we began this discussion, that I think that this is for now the ballot question we should have. We should put it to the people, see what Westford, see what they say, and if it is such that we decide at a further date that we, you know, depending upon how the question comes out and what happens, if we at that point have further recommendations and want further consideration, we can do this. But I think this is a starting point and where we should start. Tom had his hand up, and then I'll go to you, John, okay?
Mm-hmm. Actually, Andrew, you covered more or less what I was going to say. I just think this is the question. I mean, what we have here right now, I think, is the fundamental question. And if we want to do something else, like have parallel days, or if we want to do, you know, have offset days or something, if we hear the voice of the people is not ready for this particular approach, then we'll get back together and and think about it some more and propose something new, I think. But for me, at least, I feel like we asked the DI committee to come at sort of the fundamental question and present wording for it. And I think that's what we have.
And John.
Yeah, when this whole process started, I kind of had hoped that we kind of leave Columbus Day alone and we'd find a way to celebrate the indigenous peoples of this region specifically, so that we could acknowledge their existence and what they were here first, acknowledge the things that have been done for them, because some of this language, as disturbing as it may be, these things were done. And at first I was kind of looking to strike out this superseding local references to Columbus Day as a recommendation. But the more I look at this, it puts us in a position of saying the people that are really for Indigenous Peoples Day may be conflicted somewhat and not vote for it because they have some reverence for Columbus Day. And then those that think Columbus Day may vote against it because even though they're in favor of recognizing the indigenous people and whatnot, they would vote against it. So it's kind of, it's been well proven. I think Eric made that point. This puts the issue right here in one vote. And, you know, it's a choice. And people are going to make the choice, Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day. And I'd hoped that we'd been able to come up with a date that would be more meaningful to the indigenous people of this region versus just saying, get rid of Columbus Day. Columbus Day is, you know, I don't know. I just think it's kind of a interesting wording, and I think that will bring it to a head and we'll make that decision. We may be back to the drawing board to actually find a better way to celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day, because I think most of the people would go along with that. But we'll have to see. So yeah, I think I'm okay with going forward with this proposed ballot language, in the sense that it will force people to make a decision. At first, I remember I've said something once before. I didn't think it should be an either or. I think it would be a way to accommodate both. This makes it either or.
Okay, so is there a motion? Go ahead, Tom.
I would make a motion to support the recommendation of the DI committee with the proposed language for the ballot question.
Is there a second?
Second, with a review of legal counsel to make sure
Yes.
it's okay.
Absolutely, we will have legal counsel review it.
Thank you.
All right. So all those in favor, Tom?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Scott?
Abstain.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. So the vote is 4 in favor of going forward with the ballot question as proposed by the DEI, subject to legal opinion, 1 abstention. Once again, I want to reiterate and thank all of you on the DEI committee. I know that, and the board knows that this has been a very hard process for all of you. You've worked, you've done a whole lot of work. You've been really diligent, and at times it's been unfriendly and uncomfortable. And so on behalf of the board, I'd like to thank all of you for your time, your effort, your commitment, and really, following through. It's very much appreciated. Thank you.
You're welcome, Andrea.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Select Board.
All right. So moving on, we are at, where are we? We're at old and new business. First item on old and new business is the presentation of Town Hall Parking Lot Expansion Project recommendation. Paul Starrett, our town engineer.
Just a second, Andrea, just demoting everybody and promoting.
No worries, Eric. We'll wait for you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Paul Starrett, Town Engineer. After we met back in May to look at a variety of parking lot options for the town hall, we took feedback from the public and the board and put together this current concept, which you have before you, showing 34 additional spaces. Key to this concept, based on comments that we received during the May meeting, our headlights will be facing away, provided people drive into the parking spots from the nearby homes. And this also provides a connection to the road and bush that could be utilized, or it could be gated. In full disclosure, we are going to add 34 spaces, but we'll lose 1 or 2 spaces at the road and bush, and then 1 or 2 at the town hall, where people tend to park up against the curbing there. Where it's not necessary; those are not counted parking spaces, but in fact, we've all parked there once or twice ourselves. So this was our effort to get you a concept that we could advance to the next stage of design. And we did notify abutters again in the area, and hopefully this satisfies what you were looking for.
Okay. Questions or comments from the board? I'm not, oops, thank you. I'm not seeing, Paul, I do have a question for you. If we go with this design, and if we put that roadway from Town Hall to Rodenbush, have we thought about it or even considered if there's going to be lighting back there or not?
Yeah. So yes, of course, and as you know from your many years on the planning board, they will get their shot at this as a change of use. So I anticipate that the planning board will ask all of those questions. We don't show anything here other than the spaces and the traveled way. We would have to add drainage and probably some kind of lighting. But we also don't anticipate a lot of night use of the parking lot. We can't say that exclusively, but you know, during the daytime when you have all the traffic coming and going from Town Hall, this would be an overflow. And we'll make that argument to the planning board.
Okay. So what do you need from us tonight?
So if you like this, if this is acceptable to the board, we will advance it to the next stage of design with the objective of coming up with a cost estimate so that we can go to capital and we'll work with the town manager's office to coordinate those next steps.
Okay. And Bob Jeffries has his hand up. So if we could unmute Bob. Hi, Bob.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can.
Hey, Paul, you never did call about the trees back there, but
was I supposed to call you, or were you gonna call me, or?
I would like to have seen trees on the plan. Just
yeah.
I have a different question though. Why do you continue to show that parcel as independent of the main parcel of Town Hall?
It was just a cut and paste, Bob. That exercise will all go away at the next stage. We had the survey done specifically for the subdivision, and we just cut and pasted the lines.
Because there might be another plan that gets more spaces if we make use of the land further on to existing town land,
and in fact, it would have gone over the road and bush. That's all town land south and east of the parking area.
Okay, and then my second question is, does this solve the parking problem for the new building in the center?
It more than doubles the spaces that are available on this side of Town Hall. We do have other spaces on the other side of Town Hall, but I don't have the square footages of the proposed building. I don't know if those have been determined at 51 Main Street. So I can't answer that specific question.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Bob. Okay, John?
Hey, Paul, have you thought about just the walking traffic through there? Is there any sidewalk or anything there, or people just going to have to fend for themselves going back through there against the traffic?
Right. So as with all parking lots, there are vulnerable areas for pedestrians. It's one of the reasons that we, ask people to drive slowly in parking lots, but every parking lot is the same. It's one of the dirty little secrets of civil engineering. You have to walk in exposed areas when you're in a parking lot. But
John's point about sidewalks actually reminds me of something that I did want to say. If we're going to have a roadway as shown between Town Hall and Rodenbush, and perhaps this is when it's before the planning board, I do want to be considered, all measures for making sure that, that we're not speeding, along that roadway, and that all traffic calming and traffic slowing measures are taken to ensure that, people don't use it as a raceway or a speedway.
Well, we anticipated that very thing, Andrea, and that's why it's not a straight line. That curve will have an amazing impact on people's ability to get out.
Only if they're going slow, Paul.
That's right. That's right.
Tom?
Bob raised an interesting point. Paul, does this design give any opportunity for future expansion if we decide we need it? For example, could you expand someone, put more on the other side, opposite the way they're facing now?
This could become 68 spaces in the stroke of a pen. Yes, we could do exactly that.
Yeah, if you remember, Tom, we saw a plan with 68 spaces.
Good.
But we would mirror what you see here. We would mirror on the other side, and there's room there. But there was concern about headlights and volume and size. But that is an option available to you. The whole lot technically is an option available to you.
Okay. I think Paul is looking for a recommendation for, I'm sorry. John Conway has raised his hand. So could you unmute Mr. Conway?
Hi, everyone. Thank you. I'm actually here with my wife as well. And I think our question revolves around more safety. And this is the first I've seen that plan. So Paul, nice to see you again. But if you could put that up, or maybe we could get a copy of it, because I'm just trying to get a sense of how it impacts the Rodenbush itself. And then the traffic, as we all know, the Rodenbush and the Frost is a heavy trafficked area already, both for young children, safety, the intersection, as you're coming on Main Street and Depot, that's already quite busy. So just was really trying to understand, and maybe get a look at that map separately, of the impact that it would have on the speed, the traffic of Main Street, and in particular, safety of pedestrians, the children, using the crosswalks and things like that. As you know, even like the farmer's market today, a lot of people coming and going in and out of the Rodenbush as an example.
So you're correct, John. There is a lot of pedestrian activity and of the most dangerous kind, and that's minors. We do have an option, and I'm sure it will be considered by the planning board to gate the end at the Rodenbush is one option, and then have it available for specific and particular events. And we will look at, some traffic calming measures that are available to us. Those would be my immediate responses. And this plan is available online at the engineering department website at westfordma.gov/engineering. You can access this plan.
Okay, we'll take a look at it. I think the other point would just be that three-way intersection that exists there. You know, is this just going to add more into that, particularly at, you know, busy times of day when people are coming and going at, and, you know, end of a workday, that type of thing?
Which intersection is that, John? Or Madam Chair?
Depot, Main Street, Depot and Main Street and Rodenbush. It's actually a V. So we get traffic coming in from New Hampshire. We get traffic coming in from 110. We got traffic coming out from the center of town. It's heavily trafficked, and people are also not, typically they do not stop at the crosswalks. You have to wait 4, 5, 6 times for a car to stop. There are a lot of families in the area, younger families moving in, and we need to consider how important it is to maintain that safety.
Safety will certainly be a priority when we get into the next stage of design.
Okay.
Thank you.
Actually, John, before I get to you, Diane Grondine has her hand up. Since I know she's a direct abutter. So let's hear from her first, and then I'll get back to you, okay?
Sure.
Diane?
Yes, hello. Yeah, just a couple of things I think we touched on last time, but just looking at this plan, I seem to appreciate it a little bit better with the 34 spaces facing out. It also, and I don't know what design that is, where it attaches to the Rodenbush. It seems like it's a little narrowed. Again, I'm kind of looking at the option of being gated, you know, that not be a full-time roadway, you know, for special events, for Rodenbush, you know, that's all okay. But yeah, I definitely, you know, have that concern of how much it would be used, how often. The other thing that I'm looking at, and this again is probably for the planning board, but where it's showing where it abuts my property and it's all wooded area, if that wooded area would still be there as a natural boundary, and if some type of retaining wall would also be there. You know, I was envisioning initially like a fence retaining wall, but if that natural boundary is there, that would be very helpful. So I just didn't know whether, you know, you had an answer for that at this time.
Well, and there's a couple of comments there. The gate would certainly be pedestrian friendly, so that if a road and bush event, individuals could park in this area and still access the road and bush as a pedestrian. The wooded area is scheduled right here in this plan to remain. I mean, we think long and hard about every single tree that we cut down, largely because they cost money. And you know about the environmental impacts of that, so we try to minimize that. So the wooded area is scheduled to stay.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. John?
Yeah. Hey, Paul, do you have a general idea of what the overall cost is going to be at the end?
That'll come out of the next stage, the preliminary stage. I will caution you all to know that we have seen construction prices go up a lot. So I can say that there'll be a comma in this number, and it'll be it won't be small, but I can't tell you without determining how much fill is going to be needed, how much drainage is going to be needed, and lighting will be a major cost. It's specialty, so that will be
order of magnitude best guess.
This could go as high as $300,000, but don't quote me on that. But it's not going to be cheap.
Okay.
Jody?
Nothing is right now. We're
Jody?
not.
Okay. Jody?
Yes, thank you. So, I just want to remind folks that probably mostly this will be used for town employees parking during the day to free up the parking lot for our residents. So not really increasing traffic, just providing people with a place to park. So I agree with Paul. I think it would be very unusual to have nighttime traffic here. And then secondly, I want to remind you that we do have Newport mitigation, and we have been using that. This would be a perfect project for that. So I would like to estimate that this might be less expensive than Paul is calculating, but
That
anyway.
would definitely bring the price down, the mitigation.
Okay.
The goal is not to increase traffic through this area, it's to free up employee parking spaces so that the residents who want to come in and pay their taxes can actually find a place to park, so.
All right, so is there a motion to direct Paul to move forward with this plan?
So moved.
Second.
Great. All those in favor, Anita?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, next item, we have a request from the Parks and Recreation Commission to approve and release a request for information to build and operate a recreation and aquatics center. And I believe Chris Barrett is going to be, we can unmute Chris.
Hi. Everybody. Thank you so much for having me this evening. If you recall, a few weeks ago, the Park and Rec Commission came before you and did a presentation on the Recreation Center feasibility study. One of the requested next courses of action was to move forward with a request for interest, which the board did approve us to do. So we've spent the last few weeks crafting that with the help of town staff, other board and committee members from several boards, as well as town council. And we're bringing that request for information to you all this evening to get your input and hopefully to get your approval to allow us to put it out for advertisement.
Okay. Comments or questions from the board? Wow. John?
Yeah, did you come up with, I didn't notice there that you had 110 included, options for the using some properties along 110. I didn't notice that in the first version. Where is that in the RFI?
What page?
Yeah, so it is in the RFI that was submitted to you all. It's at the bottom of page 4, I believe.
Okay.
I guess, Chris, I know it's at the bottom of page 4 and I did see it. I'm wondering if there's, it's almost like it's buried, Chris, okay.
We can switch things around and make it a little bit more evident. So, because we have heard that comment from a few people, so I definitely can recognize, and I think that's an easy edit for us to make.
Okay, that would be my comment, is I think it needs to be a little bit more prominent.
You got it.
Scott?
So I guess, I appreciate we got Route 110 in there, but if there's other open space in town, it should just be like, other private parcels, because, there is space, on say, I'm spacing now. Powers Road, for example, there's there might be the better choice there. We've already got a fitness center there, we got ski area there. Would it make sense on a piece of Powers Road? So I just wonder if we want to make that more open-ended, that that they look at this sort of process on any sort of major throughway that makes sense. Or I don't know how you word that, but we kind of limit it to one road when in fact there are other processes that may actually be even better suited for it that aren't on 110.
Sure, happy to make that edit, Scott. The direction to use the 110 corridor, I think, came up from our previous meeting. So I agree with you completely. Broadening the scope of what private parties might be willing to look at and engage with other private parties on maybe making something happen, I think would provide a lot of value. So that makes to me, it makes a lot of sense to change that language.
Okay. Marion and Bill Harmon have their hands up, so can we unmute them?
Am I unmuted?
You are unmuted, Marion.
Oh, good. This is Marion. I'm very happy to hear this conversation going on about looking at industrial or commercial land that's already paved. And I want to say a word for the farmer parcel next to the school, a word for keeping it in its natural condition. It does look as you drive by that there is not much in the way of woods because there's a small clearing right on Farmer Way and the trees are small there. But actually that parcel, which has a tremendous amount of very large trees on it, particularly along between the school and the rest of the parcel on the other side of the stone wall there. There's some really very large oaks, so tall that from Farmer Way, you can see the tallest of them. And one of them that we measured is 98 inches in circumference, and we estimated that these are oaks. We estimated that that is over 100 years old. So there are a lot of large trees there, both pines and oaks, but as I think we've always talked about before, oaks are the most useful tree for wildlife. And at the age of 100, and they probably going to live to be 300, those trees are sequestering many tons of carbon. And of course, with our climate warming and the problems that we know we need to address, and I know that selectmen are already addressing a lot of the climate challenges that Westford has. So to be entirely consistent, it would be wonderful to be able to protect these very large trees. That side, I think at the moment is being discussed as a place where playing fields would go and the recreation building going on the other side of Farmer Way. But in either case, clearing most of that land, or around 7 or 8 of the 10 or 11 acres there. So I just think it's so much more preferable to think about putting the recreation center in industrial or commercial area. We have a lot of vacancies in those buildings all through town, and the parking lot is there, the roads are there, the buildings are there, and it just seems to make sense to do that, and particularly because this is planned to be not a facility just for Westford, but for surrounding towns, and it would be a private for-profit corporation that eventually runs this thing. So it just seems to make sense that we would put it in a place where they're not neighbors that are going to be disturbed. Not a lot.
Okay, Marion, I'm going to ask you to wrap up.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's basically it.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, Chris, to follow up on Scott's comment about broadening it, one way you might think about doing that is to consult with Jeff Morissette or somebody in the planning department in terms of, you know, do we do this by zone, and say, take a look at the, in addition to looking at the Route 110 corridor, other commercial / industrial zoning. That might be one way. I don't know whether that is appropriate or not, but it might be worth a discussion to have with Jeff Morissette. And Paul, Paul Starrett, do you have something to add here? Because I see you keep popping up.
He just doesn't want to leave the party, Andrea.
I guess not. Okay.
There he is. If I may respond to your suggestion, your point, Andrea, we have had conversations with Jeff Morissette, particularly about the zoning. One of the things that is, going to be a potential issue with the Farmer Way parcel is that it is not zoned, obviously, for a commercial recreation entity. And one of the things that was brought to the planning board recently from the director of land use management was the idea of coming up with a recreation commercial overlay district. And the direction that he has received, I believe, from the planning board is to look at, applying that to as many areas of town that, it's applicable for. So it could be that we can look at some of these other private areas, and if this commercial recreation overlay district does move forward to town meeting and get approved, that will allow us to make use of some of those parcels that we potentially couldn't use today without going through a lot of special, permitting and variances and all that sort of thing. So hopefully those two efforts will work and we'll move forward in lockstep, and the RFI and this commercial recreation overlay district, so that maybe we'll be able to meet somewhere in the future and be able to find a good site for this facility.
Okay, Erica Cole has her hand up, and then I'm going to bring it back to the select board. Erica?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi. I was just curious about what Marion was speaking about with the Farmers Way parcel, and would an approval tonight allow the bids or the RFI to go out and have contractors bidding on that? I'm just trying to understand the impact of the vote tonight and where it takes the possibility of cutting down these trees. Just to further Marion's comment, the trees being that large not only are sequestering carbon, but also the ground beneath them is sequestering carbon, and the roots of the trees are sequestering carbon, and it's really an enormous amount in some of these old trees. So it does concern me, just as a citizen, and as well as member of the CASC. And I do also just want to point out that it is in our roadmap to try to preserve the large trees in town, and so I just wanted to bring that to the select board's attention. Thank you.
Thanks, Erica. I will respond first, and then I will let Chris respond. But should the board approve the RFI tonight, that does not bind us to anything. We're not entering any contract. We're not agreeing with anything. Really, all we are asking for with this RFI is to see if there's even any interest out there in developing a recreation and aquatics facility. For all we know, we may get nothing back. So it's nothing more than a request for information. And Chris, I'll certainly let you expand upon that if you want to.
Don't need to. You did an excellent job summarizing. Thank you, Andrea.
Okay, thank you. With that, is there a motion? I guess a motion from the board to move forward with the RFI, incorporating the suggestions that have been made here tonight.
So moved.
And a second. Anita, did you have a question?
No, I meant to unmute myself and I raised my hand.
Okay. Scott, do you have a question?
Yeah, I guess is there any need for, we could I trust Chris to do this, but we want to actually take a look at the wording before it's sent out one more time before we say yes, go for it.
I guess I trust Chris, and sort of this is, our next meeting isn't till September 13th, which is another 3 weeks. So I'm comfortable, but if the board isn't comfortable, I'm certainly willing to listen to the board. Tom?
I'd feel comfortable with Chris capturing the intent of this, given that it's a sort of preliminary, non-limiting step. Maybe Chris, you could just take special care to put expansive language in there, so a curious reader wouldn't exclude options without talking to us.
Sure, and I'm also happy to, if it's appropriate, Scott, you can review it before we put it forward for advertisement, just to make sure you're happy. And I know John participated in the review as well, so happy to have other eyes on it before we put it out for advertisement.
Actually,
I'm happy to have Scott and John look at it on behalf of us.
like I was saying, as long as Jeff's happy, Morris is happy, I'm happy. But yeah, I'll be happy to look at it with John and you and
Okay.
You're happy.
All right. So is there a motion to move? Was there a motion? I forget already. Do we? Somebody make a
John made the
motion.
motion. I don't know if there's a second. I'll second.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All those in favor, Scott,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Anita.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Chris. Thanks to your committee.
Thank you so much, everyone.
All right, at our next item, we have a request from the Monuments and Memorials Committee to approve the updated draft policy and application for residents to propose donating a monument memorial on town property. Terry, is this you, Terry Stater? I guess it is because he just appeared on my screen.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Unmute. Okay. Well, good evening, everybody. Thanks for inviting me. This is after receiving some great, excellent remarks and comments and suggestions on an update from John and Samantha in the town manager's office for putting it in the Westford format. We have this document just as two documents. One is the policy and the other one was the application process. We had a number of us scour Massachusetts and other cities and towns across the nation to look for a standard document. This came up with one is pretty close to what we thought was the intent of the select board, asking for us establishing guidelines and policies on monuments, memorials, and whatever, anything adding to the monument sections of the town of Westford. So we came up with this. The policy is an open door. We tried to make sure that there was no specifics called. We want to make this open for any and all suggestions of anything that adds significance or shows significant value to the town of Westford, either its people, its places, or its events. And basically it's an open palette for people to come up with ideas. Same way with the policy, the application. There's plenty of room for fill in the blanks, and we tried not to, make any mention of what we were looking for. We're looking for any and all inputs onto what might be something of value to the citizens of Westford.
Great. Comments from the board? Tom, and then Anita.
Terry, I thought what you've created is really excellent. I was thinking about how do we make sure that what comes forward represents the full diversity of Westford, pioneering women of Westford, the recognition of the amazing cultural mix that fought in the First World War, that were part of our mill culture, stuff like that. But that's not really the mission of the review committee. It's
Right.
really on us, I think, to get the word out to the various groups that say, hey, we want a way to recognize those really important contributions. So I think for what your role is, I think the document does an excellent job, and maybe it's a question for us how we express to people out there how open we all are to seeing Westford fully represented.
We have, just to kind of lead on to that, is that since if the board approves this as is being proposed, we were going to go to the SPR and maybe print out several of these and work with Cemetery Commission as our neighbor or co-hosting a table so that we could be there to answer questions and present us to the public at our strategic planning. And we thought that if this would be a good way for us to do that, since I sit on cemetery as well as monuments and memorials, and several of us do, we would fulfill a dual hat there. So we thought we would love to do that.
Great. Anita?
Yeah, I also thought this was a great updated draft. I don't know if it's because it's in the Westford template. It was really easy for me to follow. I thought it was really thorough. I thought it's excellent. My only question or suggestion is to see if people might be able to submit this electronically. I was thinking about if they have designs or exhibit ideas, if they have more text other than what's available on the form, then an electronic submission might be easier. But that was my thought.
Yes, I already had created a PDF document that was electronically fillable. So I didn't submit that until we actually got down to the approval process. I mean, I could have pushed it out on the website that you could do it, but yes, we had the vehicles are there, and I'm sure I could work with IT on to make it an electronic submission. Obviously the policy would remain intact, but the application process could be done electronically.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, so is there a motion to approve the policy and the application?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Scott?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Terry,
Great,
thank
great.
you, and thank you to all the
Great.
members of the committee for working on this and bringing this to our attention, and look forward to seeing your table at the strategic planning retreat.
I'd like to thank John for his submission. It was unanimous that they accepted as book group, and not just for political reasons, believe me. You've added some content to it, so thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Thanks, John. All right. Our next item, we have to officially appoint 2 select board members, as well as the school committee representative and the FinCom representative to participate on the town manager search committee. The school committee has put forward and recommended Valerie Young to be their representative, and the FinCom has recommended and put forward Ingrid Nielsen to be its representative. So we have those two, and then I guess we as a board need to officially appoint our 2 representatives. So Scott?
I was new, the last meeting I appointed you.
I know you did.
And we never took a vote, so I was going to reaffirm that nomination tonight.
Okay, and then we need one other person to volunteer. Anita and John, you want to?
I volunteer, so.
Anita volunteers too. Do you guys want to flip a coin?
I don't know how we want to play this out, but I would like to volunteer as well. Happy to go through a vote or duke it out. John, I don't know what you want.
I would not want to do that.
You guys want to decide offline and let us know?
Sure, doesn't matter to me, whatever is easier.
I guess we have to flip a coin.
How about,
Heads up.
Pardon?
Heads I win, tails you lose.
Yeah, I know that one too.
Okay.
By when do we need to decide?
Oh, you've got a little bit of time. When the requests for proposals from the search, the executive search team aren't due back until when, Jody or Eric? I forget at this point. I think, but not till we're not voting on the executive search team until our September 27th meeting, I believe. So if you guys want to chat offline and figure it out, we can do that.
I'll say, Anita, if you really want to do it, go ahead.
Oh, that's really nice,
but
John.
that's okay.
Oh, okay, thank you. I'm happy to talk about it though.
They're due back at 9/6, just so you know.
Okay.
What'd you say, Eric?
I'm sorry, John, we missed what you said at the end.
I'm headed for the beach.
Okay. All
No,
right.
it's okay. I really like to do it, but Anita sounds like she wants to do it, so that's fine.
Thanks.
Okay. All right, so I need a motion to appoint Anita and myself, as well as Valerie as the school committee representative and Ingrid as the FinCom representative to the town manager search committee.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, thanks. All those in favor, Anita,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we have a request from the Affordable Housing Trust to reduce their membership to 9 full members and 3 alternates. Joni Kuto, who's the chair of the Affordable Housing Trust, couldn't be here tonight. However, both Scott and I are on that committee, and the issue is quorum. Initially, the committee had asked for and town meeting approved the appointment of 11 full members and 3 alternates to the committee. We've lost some members. Some members have started, but then not been able to participate. So we're down members, and in light of attaining quorum, we would like to reduce the membership to 9 full members and 3 alternates. This has to go to town meeting under state statute. So if the select board approves this tonight, I asked Jody, and Joni asked Jody to put it on the warrant for October for town meeting approval. So happy to entertain a motion to reduce the membership to 9 full members and 3 alternates.
So moved. Second.
Second.
Thanks. All those in favor, Anita,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Aye. All right. We have a request from the town clerk to appoint election officers for terms expiring July 31st, 2023. There a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, John,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. And then we have a request to reappoint Dennis Galvin to the Town and School Safety Task Force for a term expiring on June 30th, 2024. Tom?
Just a lot of appreciation for Dennis's hard work, very valuable voice, and he puts in a lot of time on it. So he's an excellent member, and we're very happy to have him back.
And so you have a motion?
I have a motion. I have a motion to appoint.
As co-chair, I would agree wholeheartedly and second.
Okay. All those in favor, John,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
Anita,
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We now are at our continuation on our ongoing discussion of ARPA funding requests and a determination of allocation. Jody or Dan, which one of you is driving this tonight?
So Dan will go through the summary as we usually do, and then I'll jump in for the new requests.
Okay. Dan, it's all yours.
Great. Okay, just a little summary where we're at right now. We started the fiscal year with 148,000 remaining balance. So far, we've received the first 1,279,000 from the Treasury. We're still waiting on that last payment at 2.4 million. We checked with other towns; they haven't received it yet either, so no cause for alarm there. At the last meeting on August 9th, the Select Board appropriated 166,274 for 8 different projects. We have a current available balance of 1,267,322 and change.
Thank you. Okay, Jody? You're muted.
Eric, if you could pull up the spreadsheet, that would be great. So we don't have a whole lot of new requests. The ARPA sheet, Eric, please. The project request. The yellow. So we don't have a lot of new requests. I'm waiting for Eric to find it.
I have it up, Eric. Do you want me to share it?
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you, Anita.
Mhm.
We also have a job at the town hall if you want to apply for it. So if you could just make that a tiny bit bigger, Anita, that would be great. So our new request, and these are priorities, they were actually on here, but we did not have the funding amount that they were requesting. But as TSSTF directed, we have priority items, which is $90,000 request to add additional surveillance cameras to the schools. So we do have quotes and there is a contingency. So that is a new request and we are deeming that a priority. The second request is also a priority, and that is to run additional assailant training for the police department, fire department, and public safety. They're requesting $20,594. And we, as I mentioned, this is a priority and TSSTF request. The third new request is actually an additional funding needed to purchase vehicles that were approved at town meeting. This is for the facilities department, and they are short $8,457.06. And this is to purchase a, let's see. I think it's a Suburban. Is that, and Jeff is here too. It is not a hybrid. They were not available. And then the next, in my opinion, this isn't a priority. If you don't approve this, he can go to capital and then the fall town meeting. His opinion may be different. And then there's another vehicle, number 4, that he also, the vehicle's price went up. He needs $1,539.20. This was approved at town meeting, but the amount went up. So that is his request. And then we have a new request, which is number 5. This is a placeholder. We're still conducting an analysis, but this is for the recreation enterprise. And this would be for lost revenue due to COVID and differences in our programming. So that is a placeholder. We're not looking for that tonight. We just wanted you to have that on your radar. So that's all of our new requests. And the rest that you've been discussing are still in here. I'm happy to go through any of them if you want, but you have heard all these other.
Right. Okay. Comments or questions from the board? Scott.
Yeah. So I guess first, 2 comments, but first a question for Jody, or 2 questions. But what's the lead time for these vehicles? And if we, wait till October to order them, we're going to wait the 6 months to get them, given, backwards of cars these days, or is it pretty quick to get them?
I would need to defer to Jeff. He is out there, Jeff Goodwin, if he could speak to that.
Hi, can
Hi,
you hear
Jeff.
me?
Yes, we can.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, so the lead times on vehicles is pretty crazy right now. So the 2 vehicles that we're talking about, one of them is a Chevy 3500, and that's a plow truck that we're replacing a vehicle that broke down on us last winter and has really fallen into disrepair because of significant salt damage over the years. And the other vehicle is the electric courier vehicle that we voted on at town meeting. So that the lead time on the electric vehicle is a little longer than the 3500. I've been told by the dealer that I could have the plow truck before the winter time, but the electric vehicle is more than likely going to be after the first of the year. But the ordering window is very slim on them.
So I guess my take on those would be that if you need a plow, we don't want to be buying it in October and getting it in March. So we probably should, somebody approved it, the town clearly wants those vehicles. So I think we're just honoring the wills of the town, and the money's not that large. As the first 2 items, after the Uvalde, school shooting, Tom and I convened with police and fire and Jeff and Jody, and talked about what they had learned, so those 2 requests are coming from the fact that the cameras are, were of limited use in Uvalde because of how they were positioned. They could actually see everything with them. So I know that our SRO and principal took a lot of time looking at camera angles at the academy to make sure that we are covered, and that's needs to fill those gaps. And then, we've trained once. We had a lot of learnings in that training, but you can never, you have to repeat and repeat to make sure you're prepared. So both things to me, I think, make a lot of sense.
Tom?
Scott said what I was going to say. I'll just extend
Okay.
the thanks to Jeff for stepping in and doing a great job pulling a lot of this together. And I would agree with Scott that even though I also agree with Jody, I'm not sure these two vehicles are enormously high priority. I do think part of the cost increase is COVID related, and we might as well go ahead and pull the trigger on those.
I would, I agree with both of you. And as Scott said, if we need a plow, I'd like the plow before the snow starts to fall as opposed to after. And the lead time on the electric vehicle is already long enough. And, so let's start it. Let's get in the queue now. We do have like about $1.3 million to spend, and this is not a lot of money for those two vehicles. So I would certainly support doing that, as well as the two requests with respect to safety. So Jody?
So I would just ask if someone's making a motion, that would be projects 1, 2, 3, and 4. That makes it easy on us if you refer to it that way.
Okay. Before we do that, Dan, assuming that if we do approve 1, 2, 3, and 4, how much are we spending tonight?
You would be spending $120,590.26.
Okay. Leaving us with
$1,146,732.56.
Okay. All right. With that, from the board, Jeff has his hand up again. Jeff Goodwin.
Dan, if you wouldn't mind me asking you a question, I'm looking at one of your sheets and it said requests not approved, and it included the feasibility study for the school redistricting. So does that mean those funds have not been approved? The 250 for the feasibility study?
Jeff, that was approved at town meeting rather than ARPA. So the project funding is out there.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve, Scott? I'm sorry.
Okay, so I'll make the motion to approve 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Thank you. Okay. And is there a second? Second. All right. All those in favor? Scott?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Tom? You may be.
I don't know if it's appropriate or whether we need to make a decision on it tonight, but I know several members of the Economic Development Committee are here tonight. And I just want to, I guess, give the board a chance to ask them any questions. I know this came up last time too, but I think they're out there. And Dave Flanagan, Cheryl Serpy, and Joan Bennett have done a really great job developing a lot of the background for the recommendation that the committee's making. So I'm not sure, Andrea, whether we want to discuss that more tonight or give them a date certain that we plan to.
I mean, on the agenda is a discussion of review holdover requests for funding. So if the board wants to discuss that tonight, happy to do that, or happy to give them a date certain. Also, if there are any other projects that are on this list that any other board member wants to bring up for discussion, I'm also happy to entertain that as well. I know one of them for me, and I just think about this from accessibility and disability and transparency, is that at some point, and it doesn't have to be tonight, I do want to talk about closed captioning of our meetings for those folks who are hearing impaired. for me, it's again, it's an accessibility issue, and allowing folks who are hearing impaired to be able to participate and actively listen to, or actively be part of our meetings. So that is one, as I said, we don't need to talk about it tonight, but I do want to put it on people's radars for some time in the future. In terms of the economic development, if folks want to talk about that tonight, want to bring it up, happy to talk about it. Tom.
I can just share a few points, and I don't know whether people want to feel ready to discuss this more tonight, but so my own personal journey on this was that I was having a little bit of hard trouble in my mind figuring out how to justify this exactly, sort of how to understand what the gains were. The committee went back and looked at how other towns have seen advantage. I think it's largely anecdotal. I'm not sure anyone has a straight calculation for the benefits of this position, but it has been the case that a lot of our peer communities have done this, have done it to get a better sense of data of what's happening with, in our case, what's about 20% of the tax base, making sure that services are being provided, getting grants and other things to the constituents that are, our business partners and community. Also, there have been successes of a few of the economic development folks in various towns landing corporate projects. That had not been my experience. And so I was, in relocating a company, it hadn't been the case for me to draw extensively on a town. But Dave Flanagan recently relocated his company and said it was a really important factor in the moving to Acton, I think. So for me, it feels like the ARPA money gives us an opportunity to do some experimentation. I'm not sure whether this would be a long-term justification in our permanent budget, but I have come around to the position that I think in the way that it's been proposed, this would be a worthy experiment for us to conduct to get really a better grip on what's going on with our business community than we've had or been able to have up till now. So those were, after spending a bunch of time with various committees, that's sort of where I've landed on it. But I know it's a complicated issue and people may need more time to ask more questions or dig in deeper.
So before I entertain, I think the first question before I entertain comments from the audience is whether or not we want to have an in-depth discussion about this tonight, or as Tom said, are there questions that we all may have? Do we want to ponder this and bring it back for our September 13th meeting and with a date certain that we would talk about that? So up for discussion with the board, whether they want to do that, whether we want to do that and give ourselves time to delve into this or look into it, or if we're prepared to talk about it tonight. Scott?
I guess I appreciate we've got 3 people on the call tonight that, are giving their time, and it's getting quite late for them. But yeah, I didn't really come prepared tonight to discuss this particular item. So I'd rather, in fairness to them, if we're gonna make a decision, I'd rather make a good decision and informed decision. I'm not sure I could do that tonight, just speaking for me.
Okay. Anita or John, either one of you have any opinions, or Anita?
Yeah, I agree with them. If we could push it back, I would support that, just because, kind of going through the other items on the list as well. I feel like if we should, I don't know, I'm just not ready for it. Yeah.
No, I think that makes sense. And who knows, by September 13th, we may have gotten another round of funding, which will also, I think, influence us. So I think what I can tell the Economic Development Committee and Joan and Cheryl and Dave. Dave, yeah, I know I had a mental block for a minute, but Dave, is that we will talk about it on September 13th at our meeting at that time. I think that's probably what we can do, where we can do tonight. And Jennifer Clare, I know you have your hand up and you are on our agenda with respect to the mobile clinician. I will get to you, so just hang in there, okay? So why don't we schedule this for, schedule our discussion on the EDC's request for our meeting on September 13th. Okay, Jody, if you could do that. And Dave, Cheryl, and Joan, we will definitely talk about it on the 13th. And thank you for your patience. We appreciate it. All right. The other request we have is to require a fee for mobile clinician sessions that Jennifer Claro is requesting. Funding for the mobile clinician session is something that we've already approved. We approved it during our first round of ARPA funding. But what we didn't approve was whether or not there could be a fee associated with that. So Jennifer, if you just want to explain why you're asking that a fee be charged, would appreciate it.
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair and Select Board members. The reason that I was requesting the fee is this has definitely been a learning process. I've had opportunities to look at what other towns are doing, and also the committee that I've been working closely with, Nicole Lavalette, Courtney Moran, Allison Christopher, Ray Dick, and Brittany Nash. Having a fee, this is such a generous service and a needed service that the town is willing to provide to residents that are on a wait list to see their therapist, but are needing to see someone more quickly than maybe 3 months. Many people are used to having a co-payment to their therapist as well as when they go to the doctor. And again, with this being a very generous service, it just felt like if people were willing to invest in their mental health, it would also provide additional support to fund this service as long as possible. We know that we will run out of ARPA funds probably for this service pretty quickly. So this was just another way to help sustain the program. It's a small piece. And again, it would also allow the resident to be able to contribute to their own mental wellness and also a commitment to ensuring that they get to their appointment and realize the value of this service that the town is giving its residents. So those are the reasons that I'm before you tonight to request a $30 fee consideration and a $5 fee consideration. And of course, those determinations would be made by our liaisons for this program, which would be our town social worker, Allison Christopher. And right now, the liaison for the school is still being decided, but Courtney Moran has been representing the school's interest and is determining who that individual would be for the schools and making the assessment and assessing and also determining what the fee for the service would be for a student, and again or a town resident. So we definitely our focus is to be able to make mental health services accessible for all, and to also allow people to be a part of their own mental health wellness.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board? Scott and then John.
Yeah, just to be clear in my own mind, so the $5 versus 30 is a function of ability to pay, correct? So the 5 is if you're on SNAP or some other such program, and the 30 is if you're not. Is that roughly correct?
Yes, you're correct. Yeah, so we would basically be looking at the benefits program, like you mentioned, SNAP, SSI, Mass Health, WAHEAP, or reside in subsidized housing.
John?
You answered one of my questions. The other one was if you look at this, what would be the extension of the program that you would expect to gain by using these fees? In other words, how much more service could you provide? Would it extend it a month or a week or what, based on what maybe your projections are, or maybe you just don't know?
Yeah. Well, no, to be honest with you, it wouldn't extend the program a lot. I think we feel like it just allows also the resident or to just have more of a personal investment in their mental health and, ensuring that they're attentive to getting to their appointment that is scheduled. And, just realizing the value of the service.
That brings up another question. Is this the indication that people are scheduling their service and then they're not doing it?
No, it's not an indication, but it's always good to have people be invested in themselves and in services that are being provided. It's just more of a commitment, and it's also an opportunity to kind of know that you're taking care of yourself and you're doing the best that you can.
Okay. What would you expect as a total? Excuse me.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, what would you expect the total fee accumulation would be? I mean, do you have any idea of what that total might be, or what would you expect?
Well, again, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I do think that we'll have more clients that will be paying the $30 fee than the hardship fee. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you're
okay. That's okay. I mean, that's maybe too much to ask. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, John. Tom?
So in this, I would definitely defer, Jen, to the great group you've got working with you. I just checked our own insurance policy and others and other companies that I know, and most of them have waived the copay for mental health services starting, early in the COVID, just to remove any obstacle or barrier that might prevent someone who might be considering it from getting treatment.
Yes.
So
right.
I guess I would say, I would like you to also have the option of waiving the fee entirely if that's not explicit, if you feel like that's any barrier to people who need help getting help, really regardless of their economic circumstance.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. We also just felt like it's also good for people to, to be a part of their own solution if they're capable of doing that. And just to so I understand completely what you're saying, and I do believe, I feel very confident that our town social worker and the school liaison would certainly do everything they could to encourage the client to participate in their mental health care and not worry about a fee. It's like you said, it's a nominal cost, but it's also an investment that a person can make in themselves and in their own lives. So that was kind of the thought behind that.
Okay, as long as the group's primary mission is to get people who need care over any obstacles to get to care, then I'm comfortable with this.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Jody?
I'm just a little uncomfortable that I want to be sure we're being consistent, because I do get a little nervous when it sounds like there's subjective, feelings in who might pay a fee and who might not. So that just makes me a little bit uncomfortable. And I guess the other thing I would say is, it is possible that we could start this and see without a fee and see if we did have a problem like cancellations. And if we did, then the board could have already directed us to solve that problem. But I'm just a little comfortable if it's not, very clear and we're not treating people consistently.
Anita?
Yeah, I guess I'm just going to repeat what people have already said. And I feel a little bit weird that we might be charging people using the ARPA money, that we've received. And I totally understand what you're saying, Jennifer. And I know that there are organizations that use a sliding scale fee, right, for different services that they have based on their availability to pay. But if we find that there are insurance companies, private companies that are waiving the fee, it feels extra weird to me to have people pay something.
No, I understand. I understand exactly what everybody is saying, and we can certainly, we can certainly move forward with not, without asking for the fee. I totally understand where everybody's coming from, and again, that's fine.
So the sense I'm getting, Jennifer, from the board, and I'm not going to echo everything that everybody else said, except to say that for the most part, I agree. I think the sense I'm getting from the board is that at this point in time, we're not supportive of charging a fee. If, as someone said, if it turns out that, people are making appointments and they're not showing up, or they're not investing, they don't have their personal investment in the mental health treatment or program, I think then we'd be happy to revisit that decision, or happy to revisit whether we should charge them a fee to help invest, to say, so to speak, they have skin in the game.
Right.
But I think for now, I think what you're hearing from the board is let's see how things go and see where we are.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, though. Appreciate it.
Okay. Sure. Thank you.
Okay. We're at our 8:45 p.m. item, which is board reports and updates. Anybody have any board reports and updates? I don't see any. So we have minutes for approval. We have minutes of June 28th, 2022 of our regular session for release. Is there a motion to approve and release?
So moved.
Second? Is there a second? Thanks. All those in favor? Anita?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
And then we have executive session minutes from July 12th, 2022, but not for release. So is there a motion to approve but not release?
So moved.
Second?
I have a comment. Second, I have a comment.
Sure.
There are two places where someone's referred to as selectman. There's twice, and it should be select board member in those minutes. So
Thank you.
I think that should be changed.
Absolutely.
Well,
Thank
that's
you.
good.
All right. With that amendment, is there a motion to approve? We have a motion to approve and release. So all those in favor, Anita?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
And Tom?
Aye.
All right. Jody, you're up. Town managers report.
Yes, thank you. So the first order of business is we're asking you to approve the revised non-union fiscal year 23 pay and classification plan. And I think Dan can pull that up. And so we're asking to approve this increase in these two pay bands.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Actually,
Whoops.
yep. No, sorry. No, go ahead. Motion to approve. And then is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All right. All those in favor, Scott?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
All right. And aye.
Thank you. So the next thing is I just wanted to give you a brief update about the senior center HVAC. I know there's been a lot of meetings and a lot of talk, and we had more meetings today. And so basically I've decided, with input and assistance from the Permanent Town Building Committee, town staff, some town officials, that we're not going to proceed with the performance contract with Amoresco for the replacement of the HVAC system at the senior center. We do plan to proceed with the engineering design that we did contract with CES to provide, and we're going to follow the Chapter 149 process, which is the typical bidding process. And we feel that we might be able to get a better price for this project if we do go through that traditional process. So I just kind of wanted to let the board know, and Tom Mahana is in full support of this. And so we'll get going on that next, and I'll keep you posted.
Okay.
And then next I have contracts that I'm requesting that you approve, and purchase orders. So I have Verdantis LLC for an LSP service for 12 North Main. They basically acquired the town's company that we were with before. So that's just a switch of the company, no term switches. Northwest Local Public Health Coalition Intermunicipal Agreement for Public Health Excellence for Shared Services Grant. TEC for Plain Road Sidewalk Design in the amount of 70,000. TEC for pedestrian improvements at West Main and North Main Street in the amount of 50,000. TEC for pedestrian improvements on Carlisle Road at the Jack Walsh Field, amount of 25,000. Lowell Regional Transit Authority for portal to portal transportation services for elderly and handicapped for fiscal year 21 and 22. Basically, they were missing some documents that they didn't see that we had ever given them. So you know, that's already gone by, but we're just, you know, wrapping that up for them. FG Sullivan Drilling Company for construction services for replacement of the Depot Street drinking water well in the amount of 146,817, and purchase orders United Site Services for portable restroom units in the amount of 12,500 for the Recreation Department. And Colonial Municipal Group, this is what you approved with ARPA for the Ford E-Transit cargo van, the amount of 57,539.20, and Colonial Municipal Group for a Chevy Silverado plow truck in the amount of 57,457.06.
John.
I had a couple of questions, if I might.
Sure.
On item number 2, that Northwest Local Public Health Coalition, that's for that grant that we approved last time, I think, 295,000, something like that.
I am going to have Ray Dix speak to that.
Okay.
She does. Is she on? She doesn't.
I don't see her online right now.
I don't see her online either, but I do see Stephanie Granger, who is chair of the Board of Health. I'm not sure if she can speak to this or not.
I'm sorry, I am packing as I listen. Can you repeat what?
Okay, I think we approved a grant last time or a couple of meetings ago for $295,000 there about a grant concerning this. And I just wanted to make sure, is this for that being funded by that grant?
Ray would probably be the better responder, and she is on.
She's not on, Stephanie. That's the problem.
Okay.
Oh, she was. Hold on. Okay, I'm texting her, so.
All right, John, meanwhile, while Stephanie's texting her, John, why don't you ask your other questions?
Okay, it has to do with the FG Sullivan Drilling Company. I was looking at those bids. They're kind of, there's some pretty good spread there. Did anybody just revisit that with them, make sure they confirm that bid? It looked like it's a pretty wide spread, especially on the bid item number 1.
So Mark Warren is on,
yep.
And he should be able to speak to that. He was.
Hello.
He is here. I see him.
Can you guys? Hi, this is Mark Warren, Water Superintendent. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, excellent. So those bids are correct. There is you're right, John, there is a rather sizable difference between FG Sullivan and I believe it's Mars Services is the second highest bid, but they are correct bids.
Yeah, I just usually when that's why you just ask them to confirm that bid.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
John, did you have any other questions, or were just
No,
those two?
just on those two, and the question on that local public thing is we're going into a regional thing here. And we have 4 towns, and I just had the other towns approve this as far as this Northeast group is concerned. I was asking to see where they were on this.
Yeah, so that was the 295 that was from the Regional Collaborative.
Okay. And we're supposed to hire a project manager. I know Westford's the lead on this, and we're supposed to hire a project manager and pay him out of this 295,000 for say 3 years of work.
Yeah, we have somebody hired already.
Oh, do you? Okay.
How have we hired somebody already?
Oh, is this a different one? Because we've had this. No.
Okay. I think that's our confusion, Stephanie.
Yeah. So the Northwest, the collaborative with the other towns, if Ray's responding right now. So,
Yeah.
but I think, I don't know if this is the brand new grant or if this is the one that's been ongoing between the Acton and Littleton and Drakeit and Westford. That one, there's been funding coming in and the positions are filled and hired.
Well, I was talking about this thing that you just, the Northwest Coalition Collaborative.
Okay.
And I think this is a new one because it says it's starting on August 30th, 2022, and it's for 3 years. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
John, I think I agree with you. I think it's a new one. I think, does anybody know if are we under a time constraint in order of approving this, or can we push this to our September 13th meeting when Ray will be here?
She was on, so she must have just gotten off.
Actually, Stephanie, I hadn't seen her all night, to be honest with you, but
Oh,
maybe.
She was on, but.
I saw her, Andrea. She did just
okay.
leave.
Sorry.
I don't know. I really don't know. I know we already are in doing some of this. I don't know why this is before the board tonight, though. So I can't speak to that.
Okay, I think my sense is that we have a couple of questions, Stephanie, and we just want to understand the grant a little bit more and what's involved. And so understanding that Ray is on vacation.
No, she's not on
No.
vacation.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought she was. Okay.
Yeah, I think she thought that you were not getting to any health board of health stuff at this point. So just dropped off.
Okay. So we can put this back. Let me put it this way, unless I hear from either you or Ray or Jody, somebody otherwise that there's some time crunch or sensitivity to this, let's defer this to our September 13th meeting, okay?
Okay, yeah, she's read my messages, so hopefully we can
Okay.
respond if it is sensitive.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, does anybody else have any questions? So anybody else have any questions about any of the contracts or purchase orders? Okay, so taking, with the exception of number 2, the Northwest Local Public Health Coalition intermunicipal agreement for the Public Health Excellence for Shared Services Grant. Is there a motion to approve all of the other contracts and purchase orders?
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, Tom,
Aye.
Scott,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Is there a motion to waive reading of correspondence?
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor, just raise your hands. Okay. And finally, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Moved.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor, raise your hands. Great. And we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Everybody stay safe, be well. We won't see everybody until after Labor Day. So everybody have a good Labor Day weekend. And also I know school starts at the end of the month. So everybody have a good start of the school year. We'll see everybody on September 13th. Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Yeah.